was not until I found myself in a predicament with the enemy that I found out that he was Jehovah Mekadesh, the Lord, my sanctifier. It was not until I found myself in a position where I didn't have everything that I needed that I found out that he was Jehovah Jireh, the Lord that provides. It was not until I got into a situation where I had to fight my way out that I found out that he was Jehovah Nissi, the Lord, my victory. It's only after I've been through some things that I really know who God is. Come on. Can I tell you, Mama told me about him, but it wasn't until I met him for myself. Yes, sir. Daddy sings about him all the time, but it wasn't until I got to know him. Y'all ought to help me out here. Pastor preaches about him every Sunday, every Wednesday, but it was not until I had a personal experience with him that I got to know him. Well, Pastor, I cannot get a witness around this church here, so might as well open up my Bible, find a witness somewhere up in the Bible. Genesis number 22 talks about how it came about after these things that God tested Abraham and said to him, take now your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on the mount of which I will tell you. Now, most of the time when we preach that particular passage, we preach it from Abraham's perspective. We teach it and preach it to show just how much God was to Abraham. But you got to look not at Abraham, but you got to look at Isaac, because Isaac didn't know who God was. Come on. Isaac knew that daddy trusted in the Lord. Isaac knew that daddy had a God that provided for him. Isaac knew that God had made a way. Isaac knew that when daddy got in trouble, God got him out of trouble. But it was not until he was on his way up Mount Moriah that he looked at his daddy's hand and said, I see the fire and I see the wood, but where is the lamb? Come on, help me preach here. And Abraham said, the Lord, he prophesied to the boy. He said, the Lord will provide, a lamb for the burnt sacrifice. Really, he was telling Isaac that, baby, you are the sacrifice. Really, Abraham was telling him in advance that God is fixing to use you to get his glory. But can I tell you, it was not until Isaac was laying on the altar, tied down, daddy getting ready to slit his throat, that God speaks out of heaven and said, don't touch the boy, that Isaac knew that God will make a way. Anybody in this room other than me have ever found yourself in a situation where things could not get no worse than they were, that God stepped in? Yes, sir. All right. Come on. Walk it. It was a test for Abraham, but it was tailored to teach Isaac a lesson. See, for Isaac to be able to survive after Abraham was gone, he had to know God. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. He had to know God for himself. And so today, that's why I thank God for what I went through. All right, y'all ain't got to come along with me right through this one right here. I'll apply this roll all by myself. I thank God for my mountains. And I thank God for my valleys. I thank God for every storm he brought me through, because if I never had a problem. Yes, sir. See, y'all missed the shout cue. I said, if I never had a problem, I would not know that God could solve them. I wouldn't know what faith in God would do. But can I tell you what I learned? I tell you, I learned that through it all. Yes, sir. Woo, that's right there, right there. I said, through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned how to trust in God. Through it all. Learn. Yeah. So when we come to the text, yes, sir, as we peer into this particular pericope for the perusal of preaching, go there. We find Paul at a difficult place in his life. We find Paul, amen. He was no stranger to physical suffering. He was no stranger to physical suffering, and he was no stranger to psychological suffering. But in an effort to somehow bring a sense of focus to where he is and where he's going, in chapter 11, he talks about the hard trials that God had already brought him through. So that when he starts to analyze his current situation in chapter 12, he can use his past, watch this, y'all, as a point of reference that says, if he brought me through this. Say it. All right, I'm going to try this side of the church. I said, if he brought me through all of this, he's able to bring me through this right here. And now I know that this Sunday morning I got to hurry, but can I pull over on the side of the road and parenthetically tell you that whatever it is that you're going through, if you can remember something in your past that he brought you through, it ought to be able to give you hope, to remind you that if he brought you through that, he'll bring you through this. I just came all the way from Birmingham, Alabama, to tell somebody that if you survive that bad marriage, my God, you can survive being a single parent. If you survive, amen, that bad work environment, God can bring you through being self-employed. I came all the way to tell you that if he brought you through that. Yes, sir. Now, don't you get nervous and don't you get fretful, because God is still in charge. He's still in control. He's still in command. He's still in commission. He's still omnipresent. He's everywhere at the same time. He's still omniscient. He knows everything about everything and everybody everywhere. He's still omnipotent, having all power, not black power, not Alabama power, not white power, not Gulf power, not electric power, not gas power, not battery power, but he got all power. I tell you, he's got all power. We mess up and we say it's in his hand. It's not in his hand. It's in his mouth, because the Bible said that he holds the world by the power. All right. Sit. We're just talking, and he is the same yesterday. He's the same today. And can I tell you, when I wake up in the morning, when I wake up next week, if I live to see 2012, he's still going to be the same. Yes, sir. He was, Revelation said it, he was, he is, and he will be. So if he brought me through that, he ain't lost no power. He's no respecter of persons. I ain't even got to find a situation in my own life. I could find a situation in my neighbor's life. My neighbor cried all night long. My neighbor wanted to pull her hair. My neighbor wanted to go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. My neighbor wanted to snap, crackle, and pop. But if God brought her through that, most assuredly, he'll bring me through this. So Paul says that God's going to bring me through this, but since I'm here, and when I really think about it, David did say it's good for me that I was afflicted, that I may learn your statutes. So if all things work together for good to those that love the Lord, to those who are called according to the purpose, then I might as well thank God. Yes, sir. Y'all didn't see how I was going to get here. I thank God for my thorn. Yes, sir. Well, there's a reason why I thank God for the storm. I'm so glad that you asked why I'm glad for my thorn. Let me tell you, the first thing Paul says in this passage is because of the surpassing greatness of revelation. For this reason was given me a thorn in my flesh. Listen, a messenger of Satan to torment me, to keep me from exalting myself. So the first thing Paul says, I thank God for my thorn because it keeps me in perspective. Well, whether we want to admit it or not, Paul had a serious problem. He had very serious problem. I don't know if anybody